Food scarcity is becoming a major concern in many areas of the globe right now. Several food staples are already facing tight supplies and shortages, worsening the growing hunger crisis that is spreading across the planet. Supply chains are still struggling to recover, and in the event of a new pandemic, economic or financial meltdown, as well as any disaster that may hit our system, all of the improvements seen since 2021 may be rapidly reversed, leaving the country in a chaotic state and causing products to disappear from store shelves again. We all know by now that the next big global meltdown can erupt at any moment. Economies are falling apart. Financial markets are wobbly. The climate crisis is decimating crops and making it harder for agricultural producers to maintain a stable food supply. It's only a matter of time before something bursts. And when that happens, desperate people will start taking some desperate measures. Today, we've compiled several staples that are either already facing shortages or at high risk of experiencing supply chain disruptions or being hit by a panic buying wave after things go south. Without further ado, here are 15 foods that will disappear first as difficult times approach. 1. Water. In the event of a cyber attack, supply chain disruption, natural or man-made disaster, or any sort of national emergency, water distribution systems can be suddenly interrupted. And people who do not have a reliable supply of bottled water at their homes may lose access to clean water for an indefinite period of time. In those situations, people tend to panic and rush to the stores to hoard bottled water, oftentimes leaving shelves completely bare. In fact, empty shelves of bottled water can also be a sign that something is already happening out there and that people have already started preparing for it. So stay alert when that happens. The importance of stockpiling this item in your pantry is obvious. We all need water to survive. That's the number one supply in any prepper's shopping list. Ideally, having a water reservoir on your property would be the best option during a disaster scenario. So you could cook and maintain your hygiene even if national or regional water pipelines were shut down. But that's not possible for many folks, particularly living in the city. One more reason to start purchasing a few extra bottles whenever you go shopping and keeping them stored in your pantry for future need. Don't forget to leave them at room temperature or cooler, out of direct sunlight and away from any solvents and chemicals. 2. Peanut butter. Peanut butter is a staple for many U.S. households. From the classic peanut butter and jelly sandwich to cookies, pasta dishes, soups, cakes, salads, and more. This is an extremely versatile ingredient, and Americans consume it on a regular basis, so demand is always high. In the event of a severe economic downturn, peanut butter would still be one of the most popular grocery items given the affordable price and the fact that we can use it in countless recipes. Peanut butter is also the perfect food for a survival situation. It's full of calories. It can last up to 24 months in your pantry. It's filling. It's packed with antioxidants, vitamins B6 and E, and best of all, it's delicious. Considering all of those reasons, you probably can understand why peanut butter is one of the first products to disappear from stores when people start realizing the turbulent times are approaching. Even though you can surely make your own at home, it may not last as long as a store-bought product. Some brands also add more nutrients in the recipe to increase the amount of protein you get per serving. Now, if you're planning for the long term or just looking to stretch your grocery dollars as far as possible, peanut butter is the way to go. 3. Coffee. As our lives became busier, coffee consumption ballooned all over the world. On average, people consume around 2.25 billion cups of coffee per day. For some, coffee is a daily necessity that helps them to get through long work shifts or studying time. For others, it's a matter of health. Medical reports confirm it can be beneficial for conditions such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, inflammatory bowel disease, and liver disease. Coffee is also a nutritious substance, rich in vitamins B2 and B3, magnesium, potassium, and antioxidants. Whether you love it or hate it, coffee is one of the most easy to find neurostimulant foods out there. Neurostimulants are substances that increase the activity of brain chemicals that make us feel more alert, attentive, and active, and that's key in a survival scenario. However, we don't even have to be in such an extreme situation to need it, and conditions don't have to be extraordinary for us to see shortages of this product. This year, extreme weather conditions hit several major coffee producers around the planet, and millions of crops were lost. So, while demand remains high, supplies are still being squeezed. We're witnessing the impact of this supply and demand imbalance at the stores right now. Prices for the commodity are soaring and won't get any cheaper in the short term unless a miracle fixes the climate crisis, normalize temperatures, and restore global agricultural production. But you shouldn't hold your breath on that. On top of all that, coffee addiction is real. Many people would do anything for their daily dose of caffeine, and you know what happens when they hear about supply chain bottlenecks or see shelves running empty? They act crazy, just like they did in 2020. 4. Frozen prepared foods. Given the convenience these foods provide us, the reason why they would be one of the first products to disappear from stores during difficult times seems pretty evident. They're either ready-to-eat meals, or you will just need a heat source to finish their cooking, et voila! They typically come in sealed packaging that can extend their shelf life and are also easy to store, oftentimes having a high calorie per serving ratio. Now here goes a prepper tip. When you're in a life or death situation or trying to ration your supplies so that they can last for longer, eating a small portion of a high-calorie food will make you feel more satisfied than eating a large portion of a low-calorie food, which can also deplete your supplies faster. You can also share a high-calorie meal with more people than you would if you were eating something less filling. That's why high-calorie foods are essential for long-term prepping. From pizzas to desserts, pasta, fruits, and veggies, frozen foods can be very handy if you're going to be sheltered at your home for a prolonged period. It's never a bad idea to make some room in your freezer to start storing frozen foods for a potential emergency. Make sure you check the expiration date and follow the conservation recommendations too. Next time you see a good sale of frozen foods, don't miss the opportunity to start building your own stockpile. 5. Cooking oil. A worldwide shortage of grains and other ingredients used to produce cooking oils has sent prices through the roof over the past couple of years. Droughts, floodings, and the Ukraine crisis, which has prompted both Ukraine and Russia, two of the world's largest producers, to suspend grain exports in 2022, left the global market with 30% fewer grains compared to pre-pandemic levels. In some areas, grocers and big box retailers are limiting purchases of cooking oil to prevent supplies from selling out. This means that supplies are really tight already, and it won't take much for this to evolve into a worldwide shortage. We need cooking oil not to lose half of our food to a sticky pan. But more than this, cooking oil has several survival uses. It can be a fire starter. It can lubricate engines and other metal gear, and can help to heal blisters and other skin conditions. You can use it to prevent your tools from getting rusty or to keep pests away. It's so versatile, you can even create biofuel with it. This is a crucial product in any pantry, one that everyone is and will be looking for, regardless of what happens next. 6. Pet food. Only pet tutors know how frustrating it is not to find the favorite food of their poor friends. I kid you not. Pets can throw quite a tantrum when they have to eat something they're not used to. Many people develop an almost parental relationship with their animal buddies, and they want to provide for them the same way they would for their children. So when an aluminum shortage hit the market in 2021 and canned pet food became incredibly hard to find, that was very distressing for both pets and their human companions. Up until now, supplies haven't completely normalized, and the smallest sign that a new shortage may emerge will certainly prompt desperate owners to drive to the closest store and buy as much pet food as they can afford. Who can blame them? You wouldn't like to see your kids starving either. Well, at least that's their reasoning. In other words, if you have pets, don't forget to make preparations for them too, because when things go south, pet food will vanish from sight in no time. 7. Ramen noodles. It only takes 3 minutes and some boiled water to make ramen noodles. They're easy to carry and to store, have a long expiration date, and can be used in many different recipes. In Korea and Japan, some people even eat it as raw as a snack. They're rich in carbohydrates and can fill empty stomachs. As opposed to what many people think, it isn't the noodles that have the high salt content, it's the small packet of seasoning that comes with it, meaning that you don't have to consume a meal with high levels of sodium if you don't want to. Ramen noodles are the go-to food for shoppers on a tight budget. You can even buy it in bulk to get the best value and save a few extra bucks. When people are struggling, this product becomes even more popular, which can make it harder to find this item at local convenience and grocery stores and supermarkets. Considering its extended shelf life, those preparing for the long term will also be seeking ramen noodles when economic conditions deteriorate further. For that reason, remember to ensure your stash before it's too late. 8. Protein bars and trail mixes. Keeping ready-to-go snacks on hand can help you to bug out faster in case things become too chaotic too fast and you need to relocate. But even if you're planning to stay put in the event of a new pandemic or emergency, having a high-protein, high-carbs food in your stockpile is always a good idea. Protein bars and trail mixes are excellent sources of micronutrients such as calcium, B vitamins, potassium, and more. They can also help to regulate the amount of sugar in your blood. They're part of many people's diets and are also another prepper favorite due to their cost effectiveness. Inexpensive and healthy, these snacks can drop out of sight before you even notice it. 9. White rice. Having about 205 calories per cup, white rice is a very important grain to keep our health in check. It's an important carb that also contains nutrients such as magnesium, phosphorus, manganese, selenium, iron, folic acid, thiamine and niacin, components that reduce blood pressure and reduce the risk of heart disease. As a dry grain, it can last up to 25 years if properly stored. All you need to prepare is some water and the seasonings of your choice, which makes it another ideal candidate for survival food storage. But more importantly, it's a food staple for 3.5 billion people. Right now, a global rice shortage is leading top producers to ban exports. Earlier this year, there was a major panic buying wave here in the U.S. after India announced it would no longer export rice to us this year. Even the United Nations is warning that the shortage is going to increase hunger levels all around the world. That's to say, rice supplies are already disappearing, and any other hiccup in global supply chains will make the situation even worse. 10. Potato flakes. Potato flakes are considered the fast food of a survival food supply. Some boiling water and a few stirs in a pot are enough to transform it into a comfort dinner. Potato flakes can be used also to thicken soups and gravies and can be added to bread to create a lighter, fluffier texture. Add some cocoa and cinnamon, throw it in the freezer, and you have dessert. One serving of potato flakes has 212 calories. It contains a surprising amount of vitamin C and B6, as well as magnesium, potassium, selenium, phosphorus, and even a little calcium, copper, manganese, zinc, and iron. Minerals that help to regulate our organism. On top of that, they're ideal for 25 to 30 year storage. Other forms of mashed potatoes that have oil or butter added will go rancid more quickly, so your long-term survival stash of potatoes should not contain oils. Potato flakes will certainly be the product that many preppers will be looking for when an imminent threat emerges, and you should probably make the same move. 11. Perishable produce. Fresh and perishable produce such as fruits and vegetables are among the first to vanish when a crisis is announced. Given that these foods have a limited shelf life and rely on a staple supply chain to be delivered at stores, they're typically the first to go. When maritime or road transportation systems are interrupted, perishables become vulnerable to spoilage before reaching the market. To make things worse, consumers tend to stock up on these items early on, rapidly depleting food retailers' inventories. One option that could help you preserve your produce for longer is canning. Some fruits and veggies can also be frozen without significant alterations to their nutrients and texture, but the truth is that the only way to have a reliable supply of fruits and veggies during hard times is to start your own garden and grow your own fresh produce, just as our great-grandparents did during the Great Depression. 12. Bread and flour. Bread and flour are a staple in many countries, meaning that they're high-demand commodities. They can be used in thousands of recipes and are very nourishing. However, it takes a highly complex supply chain to produce flour, and an even bigger one to produce bread. From planting and harvesting to processing and distributing, these items need a somewhat stable civilization to make it to our tables. Any small disruption along the supply chain can cause immediate shortages. In addition, flour is commonly highly sought after during moments of crisis due to its long shelf life and versatility. That's why it can disappear from stores so quickly. 13. Dairy products. Dairy products, including milk, cheese, and yogurt, are another category vulnerable to widespread shortages during difficult periods. They require an intricate network that includes specialized transportation and storage. Otherwise, they can spoil before hitting the stores. Unexpected problems in production can suddenly impact availability. In fact, stable dairy production is only achieved when there are regular farm and labor operations to process and conserve the products. Any restriction on movement, as it happened during the pandemic, can result in work stoppages and consequently mass shortages and price hikes. Additionally, considering that these items must be refrigerated, power outages and rolling blackouts could prevent us from consuming dairy altogether. 14. Meat and poultry. Animal farming requires a series of resources such as water, feed, energy, space, and workers. For that reason, meat and poultry products are harder to come by during recessions, disaster scenarios, or grid-down situations. Drought in recent years has also significantly reduced livestock availability. Thus, the absurd prices we are all seeing at the stores recently. The supply chain of meat and poultry needs thousands of workers to function, and if we're faced with another pandemic or some sort of national emergency, workforce limitations may lead to a collapse in production just a few months into the crisis. Today, demand for these products remains strong, so the scarcity of meat and poultry should be treated as a pressing concern. 15. Canned goods. Canned goods are often seen as emergency supplies. That's why people rush to stock up on them when they're aware of a potential crisis. In fact, canned foods are probably the first staple that people have in mind when they hear that shortages are coming. From fruits and veggies to entire meals, these goods are very durable, which makes them ideal for emergency storage. Governments and several institutions also stockpile them at the onset of a downturn, which can lead to nationwide empty shelves much sooner than people think. Shortages of materials such as aluminum can also affect the production and distribution of these products, reducing their availability in stores. But the bright side is that you can learn how to do it at home, so all is not lost if you haven't started preparing yet. Any item that you buy at your local grocery store needs a complex web of services and procedures before it gets there. A worldwide or nationwide crisis can throw our food systems in disarray and cause serious inventory problems for food retailers. That's why understanding which foods tend to disappear first during such situations can help us make more informed decisions. and focus on preparedness measures to survive the challenges we may face. Even though it is impossible to predict when and which will be the next major crisis, we can get ready for potential adversities and mitigate the impact of such disruptions in our lives. We hope this has been useful to you, and thank you for watching.